Okay. The time is now 4:35 and
Hold
we'll
on, it's
be
not up yet. 1 second. It
okay.
hasn't loaded.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Williams, you're good to go.
Okay. The time is now 4:36. And we're calling to order our our March Go Team meeting. Our first thing, we're gonna establish quorum. So I'll do a roll call. If you're here, say present or aye. Jovan Miles, Christine Owens,
Present.
Latoria Wiggins, Erica Luckett, Allison Tolman. I am here.
Present.
I am here. And Janet Lovelace.
Janae, I'm here.
Sorry, Janae.
Okay.
I apologize. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen so we can have approval of our agenda for today. Um, I need someone to say approval of today's agenda and then for someone to second it.
I second.
Someone has to approve it first.
I,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry. I
approve,
thought you said approve it.
Okay.
I approve today's agenda.
Okay. So we make the motion to approve today's agenda. I'm going to share our minutes from our previous minutes from our last meeting. And then someone can make the motion and then someone to second it. Here's our last meeting.
I approve the reviewing of our minutes from the last meeting.
And someone to second.
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Moving to the next item on our agenda. We're going to be identifying some dates. We have two meetings that we have to make up. The one for January and the one for February. So our next meeting, I'm going to propose two dates. The first date will be March 31st at the same time, if that works for everyone. Um, and we already have our April, and then the next date we're going to propose is after spring break, April 21st. We already have our last meeting for May 19th. So, can we come into agreement? So I have discussion around the first proposed date of March 31st.
Ms. Williams, can I step in for 1 second?
Yes.
I want to provide some clarification. We already have the meeting on the calendar for April 21st.
April 21st. Okay.
Right. So the proposal, I believe, would be for May 19th
Hmm.
or the date that you said, March 31st.
Yes. Okay. So would everybody be able to meet for March 31st? It would be the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had to make up two. Is a March 31st makeup and a May 19th makeup?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I can,
Okay. Thank you. So that's the first date. And then the next one will be May 19th. So can everyone make the May 19th? It's a Tuesday, same time.
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, I say we make a motion to approve the next dates, March 31st, to make up our first meeting, and May 19th, both at 4:30 to make up our second meeting. Someone second that motion?
I second the motion.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna move to our next discussion item. We're discussing winter map data and response to winter map data. Ms. Nunn is gonna step in for this part.
Thank you. Give me 1 second and I will share my screen and then we'll go ahead and get started. Sorry, everybody, trying to maneuver it.
It's okay.
All right. Are you guys able to see the actual presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. As we always, we begin with our mission and vision. This is something that as a Slater team, we make sure that everybody is aware of the mission and vision, and we want to make sure that every meeting we are sending that message before we begin any of the conversations that we're having, especially when we're talking about our student goals. For goals, as you can see, we have 4 main goals that we have looked at from the beginning of the year. We have a goal for ELA, we have a goal for math, we have a goal for our K2 students who are taking math, because again, they don't take the end of year's test, which is the Georgia milestones. So we have a goal for all students that are taking math. And then we have a goal for our subgroup, which is our students with disabilities. So these are the goals that we also go through every week. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, or I want to discuss, is the winter map data. We took the winter map in December of 2025. And this is the lever this is the data point that we looked at before we started making decisions as we moved into second semester. So what you're seeing right now is the winter map analysis for the subject of reading. This is grades 3rd through 5th. These are our tested grades. And as you can see, for each grade level, and I know it's hard to see, this information will be uploaded to our Slater website. The first column for each of the grade levels, you're going to see fall data from this fall 2025. The next thing you're going to see is winter data in that next column. And then after that, you'll be able to see for developing and proficient above. What we want to really look at is, one, the orange slot, the orange columns on the left. That is an indicator of our developing and above from 2024. And as a school, 3rd through 5th grade, we had 33%. When we look at developing above in the fall of 2025, we had 42%. Our goal of what we're trying to reach, our 2026 goal, is 52. So based off of the winter map data, we're about 8% off of where we would like to be when we take the Georgia milestones in May. We still have one more map to take. That map assessment is going to happen in actually next week. It begins March 23rd all the way through April 3rd. And so when we got this data, we started to take a look at it, to take a deeper dive, look at individual students and their performances, and try to, talk with teachers about what exactly may be that gap to help push us forward. And I'll talk about some of those things after we get through the winter map analysis. When you look on the right-hand side, it's broken up by grade level. So you have grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5, along with, we pulled out the data for our students with disabilities. And again, that blue column that is all the way to your right, that is our goal. So you can see based in the boxed in area, and I know it's kind of hard because my pointer, you can't see on the screen, but there's a boxed in area, and that boxed in area, that last column, is the goal of where we want to be. In several of these particular grade levels, we are close or we're at above. Keeping in mind, 3rd grade, this is their first time of taking the GMAT, so they are getting a projection not based on data that they've already had. So there's no previous data to look at. But as you can see, based on this data, we're not too far off in some areas, even with students with disabilities. So we're looking good. Keep in mind that MAP is only giving you data points on the reading assessment. This does not give any data points on the writing. So we always have to keep that in mind when we're looking at this, because the writing portion is 47% of the test. This year is a new reading assessment in the Georgia Milestones Assessment. So we're kind of going in, just getting these projections, but this will be the first time that students have had to do this particular test. One thing that is different that we didn't have previously is that students, instead of just reading text, they're also listening to text. They're looking at visuals and having to respond to it. And that is a new structure that has not been in place before. So when we look at this data, we're still, optimistic about what this data shows. And there's still that caveat of not knowing the makeup of this particular test and not having the writing. So we're still pushing, making sure that the students have master particular standards, still looking at weekly data, looking at this map data. And once we've taken the spring map, we'll even take a even more refined look at the growth from the winter map to the spring, because students would have had January, February, and March, 3 months of instruction in between taking that assessment. The next piece of data I'm going to go over is the math data. So again, math is pretty much a good indicator of where we are based on map projections. So as you can see, there is some work to do in the area of math, and we have put some things in place to help move our students so that we are showing the progress that we need to show and showing the achievement levels that we need to show. So again, looking at those last columns to the right, that is the projection of where we want to be. That is our 2026 goal. When we look at on the left, so you'll see two different projections. You'll see one that says developing and above and proficient and above. We score higher based on the number of students that score proficient and above. We want everybody definitely to be in that developing and above bucket. We don't want any students to be in the beginning bucket, but we will score more points as a school if we have students in the proficient and above. Same thing with the reading. When you're looking at the different grades, so I'm looking at third grade right now, and I'm looking at this particular area. The goal right here, we are below of what the goal is based on, we've gone higher than where the goal is. So we're trending high in math in third grade. When we look at fourth grade, we're trending high. And then this is where our goal is for proficient and above. So we still have some work to do here, because this is where we actually, in proficient and above, this is where we actually scored, but this is the goal of where we want to be. So we want to make sure, so we tried to make sure and put things in place that as we move from the beginning of January to this point where we're getting ready to take the spring assessment, we tried to find some different strategies to fill in those gaps. When we're looking at grade 5, this is the goal for proficient and above, and this is where we have scored. Also, when we're looking at where we scored for developing above, this is the goal, but the goal was 52%. We were at 47% of students scoring at developing and above. So grade 4, grade 5, there was some work that we really said we need to target in and do some more to help the teachers and the students so we can be ready for milestones. And that's when we got into what are some solutions to help close those gaps. So I'm going into the next agenda item, which is what was our response when we got this winter map data. So we sat down as a team. That was the senior leadership team, the leadership team from Slater. We also had central office staff, and we came up with a response of doing some different strategies to help get students in small groups. And one of those was a lunch and learn. So with the lunch and learn sessions, we targeted 4th and 5th grade based on the data, because the data was showing that the 4th and 5th grade students were in math were showing the greatest gap. So for lunch and learn sessions, we only focusing on math at this time. And what we do is that there's Slater administrators. And when I say Slater administrators, we have the principal, both of the deans, our counselor, and other members of the Slater leadership team. They take a group of students during their lunchtime, 2 days a week, and we're working on skills that are background skills that students will need that should have had from the beginning of the year all the way to this point to help close those gaps. Those groups are no more than 4, maybe 5 students. And again, they meet twice a week. They eat lunch with those individuals and they're working on the work. So the kids have been very positively coming to those sessions. They enjoy them. They're getting what they need. And it's just another layer of support that we're trying to give as our teachers are working to make sure that those gaps are closed. Another thing that we looked at was we got the lunch and learn sessions that are only focusing on math. However, there's still that work that we need to do in reading. So our approach to support in reading and in math was also to do some push-in support. And what we did is we asked all of our 4th and 5th grade teachers what time would they like someone to come in during their small group to take a group of students and then just essentially be a tutor for those students. They're still doing the same work that they would be doing in the classroom, but we've gotten those small groups even smaller so we can really individualize and make sure that we're hitting those points where students were showing that they needed additional work. So the push-in support is provided again by Slater administrators, those same Slater administrators who are also doing lunch and learn. They're also doing push-in support with some teachers. We have central office staff that are coming over and doing push-in support. And that's providing a little bit more. So that's 2 to 4 times a week, depending on the content area. It doesn't happen every day for those students, but at least twice a week, someone's coming in, and for 30 minutes, they have that small group time with those individuals. We have tables set up in our hallways. We've got whiteboards set up. And what we've done is we've taken the lessons that the teachers are working on. The teachers has provided us information about what is the small group lesson that they're doing at that time. And we come in and we're providing additional support with those students. For 5th grade, because science is a tested grade, we are doing science as well. So 5th grade has both ELA, they have math, and they have science that they're getting support. And this is only the push-in support, again, is only for 4th and 5th grade because of what that data and what we were looking at. And we said this is where the most work needs to be done. One other response has been after school tutorial. So all the grade levels, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, have designed their own after school tutorial with select students, and they meet twice a week. Some grade levels meet Monday and Wednesday. Other grade levels meet Tuesday and Thursday. And they're working with those students essentially for 90 minutes to, again, get more practice so students are feeling more comfortable. They can master skills that they may not have mastered when they were in their tier 1 lessons during the week, but it gives them another opportunity to make sure that they are getting the information they need. So as we were looking at this data, we're really confident because we've done this approach in the past. We're really confident that this approach is going to help us close those gaps for those students who really were on the fence and needed some additional time to help master those skills. While we're doing each of these, the lunch and learns, the after school tutorial, the push-in support, we are collecting data to see if this approach is becoming effective for students. So we've just gotten started with it. Within the push-in support has really been maybe a couple weeks. The lunch and learn has been a little bit longer. So we're looking forward to, in the next week or so, seeing the data based on the students' test scores in their classes. We're going to look at that data a little bit more and take a deeper dive to see if that push-in, that lunch-in support, along with the after-school tutorial, has made a difference in students showing mastery. This is scheduled to go on through the last week in April, which is right before we begin the Georgia Milestones Assessment. All right. The next thing I wanted to go over on the agenda, well, before we do that, were there any questions about the data that was presented?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said there were kids who were like on the cusp, because I'm just thinking, as we're starting these things next year, and then as they continue, like, will you like each time collect data like for the upcoming as they test to kind of know for the next year, or how is it gonna keep going? Or like, are these kids who, I know this year is a different year because we kind of having some kids who are kind of from COVID and things like that. But like, I'm just wondering how the momentum will keep going, or how do you identify, like, if they like close to proficient or close to developing, or how is that determined? So how do we keep determining what data we use? This is what I'm kind of, I don't know if my question makes sense.
No, it does. It does. And
Okay.
thank you for asking. So we're considering this right now a pilot. And I
Okay.
say that because, usually when we get to this time of the year in January, it becomes, okay, we got to start getting ready for Georgia milestones. And the thought around it was, why don't we use this to kind of gauge how we can do this all year long, like starting in September 2026. And so we were talking about, one, to your point, what are those data points that we want to use? Of course, MAP is going to be the first initial one because that's the one that gives us a totality type of scope of what's going on at the time. And when we talked about the students, because the teachers were also had input into who actually is going to be a part of those groups, one of the conversations that we had was around, I might have a student who is at beginning, but if they get additional practice, if they come to tutorial, this student probably could be at developing. They just need more practice. And
Okay.
we know how our times are during the day. We only get so much time for this, so much time for that. But it's not unheard of that some students just need more time to practice those skills. So we looked at students who really have the ability to understand the concept, to understand mastery, get to mastery, but just need additional time. That does not mean that during tier 1 instruction, we are not teaching to everyone and making sure students are at mastery. That's not what it's saying. But when you have limited space, you want to make sure that the students that one, they're coming to school every day. Two, they can be a part of the after school tutorial because we can't provide transportation. Three, knowing that if you're able to come to this lunch and learn, you're actually going to work. All those different factors came into play to kind of see who should be in this group. And that's also, as with that the push-in support, the Slater leadership, the central office team, they're taking a group, but that teacher still has a group as well. So it's simultaneously things happening. And then, we still have the labs, we still have resource. So it's a lot of hands that are in trying to make sure that we're identifying those gaps and reaching those students as best as we can, just trying to get those groups as small as possible so we can really zero in on the support that's needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So again, this is our approach right now. We are continuing to analyze this approach, get feedback, refine, if there are gaps in the process, we're trying to fill those gaps because it is a pilot. But this is something that we want to take into next year. So we're not waiting until January to start this work. Once we get that fall map data, we start doing some of that work now so that we can try to meet the close those gaps sooner than later. Ms. Williams, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. And this is just a reminder about our school uniform policy. We will have a uniform policy that's going into place beginning of August of 2026 when the students return for the 2026-2027 school year. More information regarding specific colors, what's acceptable, things of that nature will be up on the Slater website by March 31st. And we will have a school contact here in the building that will be available for questions or concerns regarding the uniforms. If they need a resource, things of that nature, that school contact is going to be the person to help guide families of where they should go. And that information is also going to be located on the Slater website by March 31st. I do have one announcement we are going to have our GMAT information night. That's going to be on next Thursday, March 26th, and that's from 5 to 6:30. And the reason that we're having this is we want to make sure that families are aware about the GMAT assessment that's coming up in a little over a month or so. It's really important also because there is a new ELA assessment that is going to be taken this year. It looks very different for third, fourth, and fifth. This is not what students have been used to taking before. And we just want to make sure that families are aware. We want to talk about the grade level expectations for each of the content areas that are being assessed. We want to also talk about how we are supporting students here at Slater, but also what families can do at home to support and be prepared for that assessment. So more information is going to be on the website this week, but that particular event will be held here at Slater from 5 to 6:30 p.m. And Ms. Williams, that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Miss Nine. That was really informative. Let me make my screen smaller. Almost exited out. All right, the next item on our agenda, we've already done over parent night. There isn't any public comment.
No,
So,
ma'am.
okay,
No public comment.
okay. So I make a motion to adjourn this our meeting for March. Can you get someone to second it?
I second the motion.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.